For starting late. It's not on purpose, you can imagine. This is a conference registration venue, and everyone is here. You can see the commotion up and down. But then again, today we're about to update you as members of the media and the people of Gauteng about the state of readiness towards our 14th provincial conference. And the leadership is here to take you through the statement in terms of the decision of the Provincial Executive Committee. That's set, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. And some of you have been calling. I know Mbali's been on a case. Where's the venue? Where's the venue? Like, wait until the decision has been taken. Today you'll hear where's the venue. I know you want to know the numbers of delegates that are expected, what has happened to different regions, and everything is covered here. And then I will then allow Comrade Panyaza to take you through what's going to happen, and then Ganjalo will come back when you take these questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Comrade Bones. Truly appreciate it. Our Provincial Secretary, Comrade Jacob Carl, our Deputy Secretary, Comrade Norman, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you first, but extend an apology on behalf of our Provincial Chairperson, which have been finalizing some commitment together with our Provincial Treasurer. So the three of us will be the only people available to take you through our preparatory or our readiness for conference. We are going to take you through on what we've finalized thus far, which means what has happened in all our regions, and then the committee work of our provincial conference. And immediately after that, if you have questions, we'll be ready to answer those questions. But from our side, we'll hear from the report that our provincial secretary will take you through. We are ready for conference. We have brought conference a day earlier for proper political discussions. So that is not a conference about elections. It's a conference about repositioning this province and also dealing with the politics that we are confronted with at this present juncture. So we'll start tomorrow, and the secretary will give you the details. And as the Comrade Bones has indicated, where we are, it's a registration venue, so we are not going to have registration at conference and have lots and lots of days spent on registration. We're quite convinced that that part will be covered, sorted, and closed, so that when we start tomorrow, we're starting conference. We're not starting with registration and many other things that normally delays conference. So I'll hand over to our provincial secretary to take you through the numbers and what happened in all the regional conferences, and then we'll take it from there. Our provincial deputy secretary is dealing with matters related to disputes of branches, appeals. So if there are matters, she will be in a position to assist us. But we might excuse her in the middle of the brief because she's the chief administrator in terms of registration of delegates and everyone. Can I leave it here and hand over to you, Comrade Jacob Lehana Ujwetswa Kawa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would not read necessarily the statement, but talk to it. We have made an assessment of our preparations for the provincial conference, the 14th provincial conference. And the first decision we took was to convene BGMs in the province. At that time, we started with less than 100 branches in the province, and we are proud of our branches and the regions that as we speak and going to the provincial conference, were 427 branches in our province. So it tells you that we embarked on that process quite well, and we also didn't want our BBGMs to be just electing meetings, but to reconnect with the communities, to organize political education before we could allow a branch to convene a BBGM. And then the next leg was to go to the regional conferences. We have 5 regions in our province, and we have successfully convened 4 regions in the province, and that would be Johannesburg, Sidibeng, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane. And we were unable to convene Western due to the threshold of 70%. And that a region to be able to convene a conference, it has to have 70% of the branches. And West Rand was supposed to reach 71 branches, that's 70%, and we reached 63, and which meant that we were unable to convene a conference in West Rand. The Ekurhuleni conference was convened between the 27th and the 29th at Indaba Hotel. We used the verification report of May 18, and it gave us 98 branches that had to participate in the conference. We must say that during the conference there were 5 branches that had raised issues about the disqualification report, but eventually the conference adopted the credentials, and resolved to quarantine the votes of the 5 branches until the matter was resolved. The conference went ahead. It received all the reports that it was supposed to receive, and it went on to nominate the leadership and elect the additional members. The matter of the 5+1 branch, so it's 6, it's still a matter we are dealing with, and it's a matter that perhaps national office can comment much better on it rather than the province. We noted some incidents that were not really representing the decorum of the ANC conference. We condemned every act of violence, including hiring of security companies with very big guns. The chairperson of the province coined it as a war zone, that you can't have a conference of the ANC as a war zone. We then convened the Johannesburg Regional Conference on the 3rd and the 5th of June in Centurion with the 119 branches in a meeting and the 268 branch delegates in attendance, and the conference went well. Time was given to political content of the conference, and the leadership was elected in that conference, and that's one of our successful regional conference. We further convened Sidibeng Regional Conference on the 27th and 29th of May in Lakeside Hotel in Benoni, and the conference was convened with 55 branches and with 301 delegates. The conference was also a success. A lot of political preparations was done by the regional leadership, and it's one of the conference that we pride ourselves of for having a top 5 elected uncontested, and the region is actually in the right path to build an organization. We then had a Tshwane conference, which was held on the 3rd to the 5th of June, 4 ways in Daba, and the conference qualified with 87 delegates, 87 branches, 87 branches, and we had 260 delegates in a conference. We did have branches that had raised challenges in the conference when we were adopting credentials, and also there we opted to quarantine these branches, or rather use a mechanism of allowing the branches to participate in that process. But the conference went well, and the leadership was elected. In all these conferences, we were mindful of the COVID regulations, and that all delegates, including in the provincial conference, have got to produce the certificate, vaccination certificate, or the results within the framework of COVID. And we will tomorrow and today here provide the space for testing for COVID. Having done this work meant that the Gauteng Provincial Conference is possible. So there's no issue about the conference except the few branches. And when we say few branches, we mean those branches of Ekurhuleni. We also mean the branches that are still being listened to by the Provincial Dispute Resolution Committee. And we have other branches that are, as we speak, are being heard by the National Appeals Committee. And what would have happened there is that when a verdict was issued, some branches may wanted to further appeal the verdict. But other branches, when a verdict was issued, they immediately went for a rerun. In other words, reconvene a meeting that is disputed. So those are the areas that, if you were to ask us, in your state of readiness, have you cleared all branches? And we can say to you, no, we still have branches to be cleared. And if you're interested in the details of those branches, Comrade Nomantu, it's here. The provincial conference will be at Lakes Hotel in Benoni. It will start on the 23rd of June to the 26th of June. We have taken a decision as the collective of the leadership in the province to start the conference much different than we used to do. Delegating a day, the 23rd, first part of it into the accreditations. The deputy chair has spoken about running through with the registrations, which we started last week, Saturday and Sunday, and we are continuing. And we want Thursday to be used for the collection of accreditation, confirmation of COVID regulation demands. And then the afternoon part to the national policy discussion documents. We have invited various speakers from the party and outside the party. Those who have an opinion about the policy perspective that we should take as an organization. And so that's a new approach that we thought perhaps it would be good to start a conference from political discussions rather than from your normal credentials. And then on the 24th, most of the part would be between open and closed session for the media, because we will be dealing with the reports. We'll be dealing with the Secretariat report, Treasurer's report, the political address by the chairperson of the ANC, and then we will adopt credentials and the rules of conference. Then the next day will really focus on elections and commissions. The report that will be presented by the provincial secretary should guide the commissions, including the various documents that we have prepared in the base document of our province, and we can share with you, because we want the conference to really answer critical questions about the state of the economy in our province. We want the conference to focus on a performing government, both in the province and in the local government. We want our conference to really think about mechanisms that we can use to build cohesion in our province, but also put on the agenda the developmental path of our province. So the base document is quite clear as to what should this conference do. Rather than focusing on people to be elected, we should focus on the people of our province and the interest of the people of the province. That would be work to be done on Saturday, which includes elections. And then on Sunday, because the date coincides with the 67th existence of the Freedom Charter, since the Freedom Charter was adopted, we felt our conference can't just go ahead without making a note about the 67th anniversary of the Freedom Charter. And we have decided to invite the president of the ANC to come and talk to us about the advancement of the goals articulated by the Freedom Charter, and equally to talk about the renewal project of the ANC. So we briefly knew that we did ask the president, what is it that we expect you to talk about? He may talk to us about any other thing or things, but specifically for our province, we did ask President talk to us about where are we with the Freedom Charter and where are we in the rebuilding project. After the President's address, which is going to be in the morning, around 10, we will go back to plenary and receive reports of the commissions, and the same time run with the election process. And then later we will do the declaration, and the newly elected chairperson will close the conference. The conference will be attended by 1,133 delegates, and these delegates are from branches. 1,033 of those delegates are from branches, and 105 of those delegates are from the PC of the ANC, the leagues, the ANC RECs, and the Western RET. In specific numbers, the ANC PC would have 50, the leagues would have 10 each, the regions would have 5 each, and that's make 105 of the delegation. We're saying this mindful of the fact that there are branches that the Provincial Dispute Committee is dealing with, but also there are matters of the Kuruleni quarantined members. All the logistics around security, we bit tight around that, and we've declared the venue a gun-free venue. We don't want to see machine guns, but rather see base documents moving around the conference. And we are urging our members and the delegates that the issue of discipline is paramount, but we're also talking to ourselves as leadership, because at times problems are created by leadership and we blame members. So all of us as ANC members in the province have committed ourselves to be disciplined and ensure that we behave in a manner that represents the values of the ANC. The Electoral Commission has been established. As a culture, it is shared by a NEC member in this regard, Comrade Joma Songai, will be the chair of the Electoral Commission, together with the electoral agency, and they will be dealing with the issues and managing the election. So basically, Deputy Chair, I think this is what you asked me to talk about. Thank you.
And I've done it very well. Comrade Pierce. Comrade TPS, do you have some additions that you want to make?
No, Chair, unless there will be questions of clarity,
Okay.
because PS did indicate all the critical areas that I'm responsible for in terms of the work that we should be doing, which is the part of the logistics, the arrangements, accreditations, issues of disputes that we are dealing with indeed. And there was those branches, 1 or 2, that will have problems, but it's not major problems, Chair, as I've indicated to the POPs. It's just those that will say my name has been replaced by so and so, and now I'm the delegate, but we're managing that process very well. But we've invoked our teams. They will be there at the venue, so that if there is any issue that needs us to have a serious dispute that must be dealt with, we'll definitely be able to do that. We're working very closely with the national, and Mduduzi Manana is heading that section. He will be part of the team that will be working with us. Same as the issues of DC, as PSF indicated, the team that is responsible for DC in the province, there will be the convener that will be working with us, trying to make sure that if there is any issue that is not the way that we will expect a conference to be run with, it's there. But everything is in place, systems are fine, the venue is fine, the team, security team that PS has organized, even now, our team is meeting with the security cluster in the province so that we ensure that we tighten up everything. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. I'll hand over back to Comrade Bones.
Thank you so much, Deputy Chair. Colleagues, it's that time. It's yours now. You've heard the state of readiness. You've got questions, I know, so let's start. I'll start on my left. So please, no brainwave, ne? We move. So number 1, you just introduce your name in the media house. Number 1, number 2, going once, going twice, on. Number 1, your number 2, number 3. So we've got 2 this side, we've got 3 this side. Just name in the media house.
Okay, Kenny Mapanga, SABC News. We just need clarity on the Ekurhuleni region. Were those outcomes officially declared? And if not, and that conference hasn't been closed yet, how are you confidently going to go ahead with this provincial conference when one of your metros has at least 19 votes that have been set aside, and those disputes are still hanging in the air? What is National telling you about that, and how are they giving you? Are they giving you the green light, and for what reasons?
Number 2.
Uzinhle from News 24. I just want to ask, you spoke about disputes, but I don't think you gave us a specific number about how many branches exactly have, what is the exact number that you're dealing with at the moment. And also, there have been allegations from eNCA in Gauteng about corruption and about the use of money ahead of this conference, and people vying to, especially it's been linked to Ethembisa Hospital specifically, and that funds are being abused there to help fund and buy votes ahead of the conference. This conference has already, this is murmurs of it being clouded in allegations of corruption and stuff. What is the leadership's take on this particular matter? Yeah, thank you for now.
Number 1.
The West Rand, the entire region disqualified. Can you please just unpack it to us as to what are the issues there? We understand there are disputes, but what are the issues there? Why is the West Rand not allowed in this conference? Thank you.
Number 2.
I've heard from the eNCA. My colleagues have covered me, but just maybe to add on, what will then the disputes and the branches that we are to hear of, and also the Ekurhuleni region, what bearing will it have on the outcomes of the conference and the elections?
Number 3.
Malika Shani from Newsroom Africa. My colleague from KFM has also covered me there. There were problems around West Rand. They were marching last week outside the Tuli House. They've accused the regional secretary of manipulating the process. They wanted to take part in this conference. Why have they been completely isolated? When it comes to that issue, do you foresee that there will be no problems? I mean, these are some of your branch members who want to participate in this conference, and they've even appealed to the House on that matter. And then another question is to you, Mr. Kawe. The last time you were in the media, there were issues around you and the allegations of abuse against your wife. Have you been cleared by the Integrity Commission? I mean, I remember you saying you're on special leave. Are you back from that? Thank you.
Okay, we'll do just one exception. We don't like brainwaves.
Sorry, Sunday time. I just wanted to ask, what is the rationale behind you guys starting a conference? Does it have to do with what has been said by the pundits out there that the ANC risks losing power? Therefore, you have now taken this decision to focus more on issues instead of what is normally known to become of conferences. Tell me, are you worried? Are you also worried that you may be losing this province in the next election?
Thank you so much. I'll hand over to the Deputy Chair, the Secretary, and the Deputy Secretary.
Let me start with the Provincial Secretary, I think, will amplify the Ekurhuleni part. After the conference, the national team appointed a task team led by Comrade Jeff Gauteng. That task team was assigned to take stock of everything that happened at that conference. And they presented their report to the office of the Secretary General, which Comrade Paul Mashatile is assisting as the TG. And after presenting that report, the national officials also discussed the report and took it to the National Working Committee yesterday. It's yesterday, 2 days ago. And from the National Working Committee, naturally they have to progress to the higher structure, which is the NEC. We're not sure when will that NEC or special NEC be convened to finalize this matter. We remain hopeful that it's going to be resolved before we start our conference. So we believe that matter is being taken care of. So there's nothing that will affect our conference or the status of our conference. Remember, the provincial conference of the ANC is a conference of branches. It's not a conference of regions. It's a conference of branches, and that is why even the provincial secretary is taking you through the number of branches that consist at regional conferences and the number of branches that are coming to the provincial conference. So it's a conference of branches. So the status of a certain region, ideally, we don't want to have it, and we remain hopeful when the NEC concludes on this matter, we'll not have doubts and would have finality on this matter. So we are quite clear. So it will not affect our province. I think we want to put it that way. Obviously, there are branches that are affected because it's a conference of branches. That is why the dispute team have been hard at work to clear that part so that we don't find ourselves having branches that are excluded. Let me rectify this part. The Western region is not excluded from conference. The branches of Western are going to participate in conference. They didn't have a regional conference because to host a regional conference, you must reach 70%. And by the time the deadline arrived, Western couldn't meet that threshold of 70%. So they are not excluded on the basis of any other thing. They're excluded on the basis of a constitutional requirement that for you to host a regional conference, you need to have 70% of your branches ready. And by the time we reach the deadline, unfortunately, they could not have 70%. So they will participate as branches because branches, this is a conference of branches. Sorry, the branches will participate then. So I think this is just a conference preparations. There will be allegations of X, Y, Z. People who want to divert attention and raise whatever allegations that are having. And that process is, if you have allegations, there are law enforcement agencies that will deal with these things. There might be allegations of everyone every morning, because we're in a conference mode. People want to influence, people want to throw mud at various people purely because either they're not their conference preferred candidates or whatever. So we note this, we are quite aware. The good thing is that in our province, the structure of SANCO is going through what we can say a negotiation route to ensure that. So even when you say SANCO, we don't know which one, because we've got 2 or so structures of SANCO in the province. And as the ANC, we have taken a stance that we are not recognizing either of the 2 until we've concluded the process. There's a process led by the Secretariat to ensure that we deal with SANCO. So we'll note these allegations and encourage them, indeed, if they've got evidence, to go to institutions that can assist us to validate those allegations and attend to them. In terms of our provincial secretary, you will recall that when the allegations were made public, we convened a meeting of the Provincial Executive Committee to say that these allegations, but our provincial secretary felt that because they're affecting him, he will request to take leave. And you know, leave has a beginning and an end. So during that particular period, he volunteered to take leave, and he volunteered to take himself to the Integrity Committee. Because we didn't conclude our work of our Provincial Integrity Committee, we requested the National Integrity Committee to handle the matter. And then the National Integrity Committee referred back the matter to us to say, you handle the matter. So we are reconstituting our own processes so that that matter can get. But as we stand, there's nothing stopping the provincial secretary to participate or be part of the structures of the ANC and to resume his responsibilities. The secretary has been doing that for the last month or so, if I'm not mistaken, provincial secretary. So it's a matter that we have cleared, and we will attend to it if there's still a need to continue to attend to it. Are we scared to lose Gauteng? I think people have been saying this. I don't think there is a political party that can affirm that it will win everything. I don't think there is a political party that can affirm that it will lose everything. You enter into electoral renewal or to seek electoral mandate on the basis that you've got superior ideas, you've got superior policies, you've got superior leadership, you've got the capability, the skill, and the talent to resolve all problems. And that's the reason why we're starting early, fortunately. We're not starting early with political discussion because we fear losing. We are affirming who we are. And we really believe that this thing of conferences of the ANC being replaced, being festival of ideas, but be about elections, it's a culture that you must discourage. When we meet after 4 or 5 years, it must not be about who leads the organization. It's about where do we find ourselves as a political party? What are the issues that we believe that we need to attend? What are the concerns of our constituencies? And collectively, because we invite everyone. That is why you branches of the ANC got the alliance. So you've got so many people that you can't normally or ordinarily have them in one room. And if you have them under one room, you just spend time on election, not spending time on who we are and an institution that we are. We are not scared as the ANC in Gauteng. And I think our chairperson has been on record that what we had in terms of the outcome of municipal elections was just a strategic retreat, not a strategic loss. And when you retreat on something, it means you go back, re-energize yourself, and on the basis of that, confront the new challenge. But it will be naive to say the electorate has not pointed some limitations and gaps within the political party itself. I think it will be naive if you can't accept that. And that's the reason why we believe if we start conference early, it will give us ample time to analyze the concern and not only diagnose the concern, but provide the relevant answers to the concern. So to have conference early is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And most importantly, it's a sign to say the ANC is ready to acknowledge its limitations and to learn from its mistakes and weaknesses and reposition itself in a manner that assists us. To also go back and say, here's the Freedom Charter. We want to set a day because it's a blueprint that made us who we are. We are here because we believed in the Freedom Charter, and therefore we believe the national leadership should come and remind us what is this Freedom Charter? What does it stand? What did we achieve out of it? Is it still relevant? We can still use the Freedom Charter to address our limitations and our gaps. So the political discussions in Gauteng remains the center of our conference. Any other thing, it's a constitutional obligation to have elections, and therefore we should not allow that. But if we're going to elevate elections above the political discussions, I think we'll miss a point. And I know I was surprised that you didn't raise it, because other people outside the leadership would say, we are going to a national conference in December, what is the posture of Gauteng? So we are on political discussion, rebuilding, renewing the African National, and positioning the African National Congress to be a vehicle to solve the challenges of our people, but most importantly, to strengthen the structures of the ANC. So that's where we are, and those are the issues that we really believe will attend to them. I'll leave the difficult one to the provincial secretary. I think I tried on another one. Comrade Pierce.
Thank you. We have perhaps as party and as individual leaders of the ANC have to, at all material times, join the struggle against gender-based violence. It should be a commitment of leaders and the party. And I think how the matter involving the secretary of the ANC was handled, it represents that commitment. And that's why there was a task team established and work done. But equally, as Africans, there are matters that we perhaps always want them to be dealt by the family structure and give necessary respect to that structure. At some point in a free time, we may have a discussion about how angels would have spoken about that family structure and how important to nurture it and support it. So yes, I am back at work, and I think that we've got to find a way to navigate such challenges. And yes, we want to build an organization of leaders who, when they are questioned, they also help the party and move aside and give the party a space. And that should be an important value in rebuilding and renewing the ANC. So the deputy chair has answered the details. I thought I should just add the two basic things on this matter. The issue of the West Rand is quite an issue. One, the deputy chair has clarified the participation. The branches of West Rand will be in the provincial conference. So the branches of West Rand are not excluded in the conference. 63 branches from West Rand will participate in the conference. The people who are not going to participate in the conference, it is the absent regional leadership on the basis that we didn't go to the regional conference. So let's just put it proper, Brabito, that the delegates and West Rand will be part of the provincial conference. But what are the issues? There are political issues in West Rand, challenges, challenges of leadership, but also a missed opportunity of transition of membership. So when we were adopting a new membership system, it cancelled what we used to call bulk membership, where there are forms stuck in the regional office and somebody travels from West Rand to Johannesburg and then you log in members and so on. The new membership systems then said, no, let a member join, not a bulk. This comrade is carrying a bag. And some of these forms, you don't even know whether there are people, or those people know that they are joining the ANC. And on the way, some get lost. At West, where there was no accident between West Rand and Johannesburg, but the package is lost. The car was not broken into, but the package doesn't arrive in Johannesburg. So the new membership system was rectifying such, and the region was slow to move in that respect, because what they were supposed to do was to take back the form of a member, back to a member, and ask a member to renew or join the ANC as a person. That in itself affected the membership. And when it affected the membership, it affected the status of branches to convene meetings. So many branches would then be declared below 100%. Then they could not convene a branch biannual general meeting. The rest of the political issues and challenges of leadership and the relations in the region, it's a matter that it's handled by those PEC members that are deployed in the region with the regional leadership. I can say at least they've had one meeting to deal with that. And even last night, they had a meeting just to look at the leadership question and the challenges of the region, rather than focusing on why didn't we have a regional conference? Because the issue is not only the conference, it is the issues of West Rand, the service to the branches of the region, the municipal issues, the performance in local government, and I'm sure even the provincial conference would have that discussion. Already in the organizational report, we do highlight the challenges of a decline of local government elections, and we want the conference to come to a common determination as to what are the basic problems. In the report, we're identifying about 6 problems. One of those is the connection with the people. The second is the weaker organizational structures of the ANC, because we went to local government with weak structures post-attack by COVID. And the ANC can't run an elections campaign when it's weak itself. So this conference is an opportunity to draw lessons and look at the challenges that we must resolve. So that as far as the West Rand situation. The issues of disputes, we're dealing with 7, a specific number. Uzinhle asked, it's 7, and that the National Appeals a committee is also dealing with 7. They've dealt with 2 yesterday. Yeah, so they're left with 5. And the PEC of the ANC in Gauteng said to the dispute committee and national, we're giving you up until Wednesday afternoon, meaning today, that you've got to resolve these issues, no matter what is the verdict. But we shouldn't have a branch or a group of activists of the ANC who have launched an appeal and nobody listens to them. That would be quite unfair. And that's why you spoil your conference and we have protests in your conference. Most of the time it is failure to listen more than the decision we've taken. And we don't want to have failed to listen. Rather somebody says, I disagree with the verdict. But we would have listened. We've spoken about the hospital. I can formally say the one SANCO that gave us the memorandum, as a provincial secretary, I took that memorandum to the premier of the province. And I said to the premier of the province, we've got to answer this SANCO on these allegations, but an answer must be provided. So the matter is with the leader of government in our province. We have read the allegations, and we would want him to sanction a process that will give confidence to the people of Tembisa and Gauteng as to whether are we running a hospital as a corruption-based front, or we're running a hospital to heal the ill. So we're hoping that the premier of our province will give the account in that. Lastly, it's the issue of the program. Why are we doing what we're doing? We should. If we are a learning organization, we should embark on the renewal project. And one of those things in the renewal project, it's how much time are you delegating to discuss the real problems confronting the people of the province, more than how much time you're delegating to discuss yourselves. So how we have crafted the program is that we're shifting all of us, our focus, away from us, but to all of us as people of our province, including you from the media. And that's why there's a commission led by Bones on communications and the battle of ideas, and where we are on information dissemination in the province. So we will invite you to a discussion on the battle of ideas. What is it that is a dominant narrative that is given to the people of our province? What is it that is not given? And what are the opportunities that exist? So we want this conference to really deal with the issues of society. If we were to earn the title of being a leader of society, because it's earned, it's not inherited. We've got to earn that through the discussions, the quality of the discussions we must have in the conference. You want to add?
No, I think we're fine.
Okay. Thank you, Bones.
Okay.
Colleagues, I'm sorry, we all know that we are preparing for conference, right? And these leaders got responsibilities that they need to attend to. As I'm speaking with you now, there are messages that are coming through that needs the urgent attention of the PSN committee. Banyaza committee, Mantu must be up there to check that those that are registering are indeed people that are supposed to register. We had issued an invite to members of the media, mainstream media, both print and electronic, to say, please, by Sunday the 19th, respond to our advert or invite if you want to be part of conference. Some of you did respond, some of you did not respond. It's only now that you want to respond because this thing is live and you're realizing indeed Gauteng is going to conference. We're going to have a problem. We also have limitation in terms of numbers. That must be there. I can tell you, DPS, I know you were fighting with me earlier on, and I want to say in front of Umba because he's here. Now, go to Pellerit. Now. Yeah. She's bringing a team of 20. They're bringing they call it an OB van. So they'll be bringing the studio to the conference van. They'll have about 6 or 7 cameramen, 3 or 4 technical people, and about 3 or 4 journalists. That's how they take this thing serious. They will be there from the 23rd until the 26th of conference when it ends. Same with SABC, they're also bringing their OV van. I'm told the eNCA is also bringing their OV van. We had anticipated about 20. So I'm lobbying the DPS to understand that 20 is not individuals, but 20.
Live.
It's a media house. So we're inviting 20 media houses. They will decide who gets to attend. Lastly, those who are going to set up, please join us today at 4:30. When you arrive there, call me. We'll arrange that they allow you in so that we can scout and be aware that where would you like to set up. If they're already dedicated certain spaces, we'll say, no, you can't go there. This is where the media would be. So join us at 4:30 today at the Lakes venue. We'll make sure that we assist you. Don't worry about accreditation. Those who have responded today, when you go to sleep,
This
you'll
is
be
not
told.
logistical, so we can give.
But
Leaders need to go.
if you can help me, I need ID.
Your
because
press card
they
will
issue
help you.
security press card, but I need your ID.
Oh, your ID. So can we release our leaders?
ID for training.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
because,
much.
yeah, because the security is very tight. And when you take